Ladies and gentlemen, pay attention. This is your boy, the coach from the WWE. I would like to welcome you to the very first wrestling podcast in the world to take you on a weekly deep dive into classic matches along with legends of the squared circle. Enjoy the discussion. Enjoy the back and forth. There's so much to get into. Ladies and gentlemen, this is The Payoff.
Welcome to an all-new episode of The Payoff. I'm Tom. That's Jeff. Jeff, we could never get into a title versus mask situation, could we? You know, you don't wear a mask. I'm not a champion. We couldn't do a hair versus hair match either.
There's only so many wrestlers that we could. I mean, what, Ray? Like, who else wears a mask all the time? Like, you know, maybe one day Uncle Howdy or something, but who knows? Like, yeah.
Dude, this was wild. I mean, I remember when it happened at the time, like, what are they going to do with this? And then when it happens, it's like, it's pretty crazy. I mean, this is just a really interesting one. I'm actually really excited to cover this and watch it back. And it'll be a lot of fun. I couldn't remember what year it was too. I mean, so he did the mask thing for quite a while. I mean, this is 2003, so 7 years. So, why'd you pick this one?
Yeah, this was, like I said, this was on the Monday Night Raw list that I put together with just a bunch of different Raw matches because I felt like we were just missing some things here. And so this was one when kind of going through it, it was like, oh shit, that's right, this match happened. And so wanted to make sure to include it and kind of have it with everything because just crazy. There's no other way to put it. Like you said, the story and everything, there was some weird parts to this story too, as we know. And so some of it did not go over as well at all. And so, yeah, but just, I got to talk about it though. It's interesting that no matter what.
Yep. All right. Let's get to the build.
Oh, it's time for the build.
All right, so as you said, this is part of our Monday Night Raw series where we're going to cover some Raw matches. June 23rd, 2003. This was a really interesting card, and I kind of want to go back and watch the entire episode. So we're in Madison Square Garden, and you know, there's not a lot of Raws that we've done there. You know, they do their holiday house shows, but not a lot of Raws and stuff over the years. So I mean, look at this card. So we start out with Christian and Test defeating Booker T and Scott Steiner in 3 minutes. Maven is going to defeat Chris Nowinski in 31 seconds. The Dudleys are going to defeat Chris Jericho and Lance Storm in 8 minutes. La Resistance is going to defeat Sergeant Slaughter and Hurricane in 1 minute and 58 seconds. Kevin Nash and Shawn Michaels are going to tag together. They're going to defeat Randy Orton and Ric Flair in 13 minutes. Goldberg's going to defeat Rodney Mack in 26 seconds. And then the main event, Triple H, your champion, accompanied by Ric Flair against Kane, title versus mask. And I kind of want to go back and watch this entire Raw. So how did we finally get to the point where Kane put up his mask?
It's just weird. So
that's a wild show, right?
Yeah, it really is. So June 23, 2003 was when this Raw took place. We're going to go back, though, to October 2002. It's funny because, you know, Triple H began a controversial feud with Kane. Like, yes, it was. At first, there was the match at No Mercy, in which both you had Kane's Intercontinental Championship and Triple H's World Heavyweight Championship were on the line. But leading up to that match, though, this is when we had the, I'm going to say infamous, just because that's the only word I can think of right now, terribly thought out Katie Vick storyline with Kane having a relationship with a woman named Katie Vick. As we all know the story in this one, Katie Vick was killed in a car crash. Kane defiled, raped her corpse was part of this as well too. What they insinuated to some of that, Triple H threatening to show the footage of that as well too. Triple H finally showing that footage. It was actually him dressed as Kane, but him having sex with the dead body in the casket. And so what happened to those? What happened to the days of showing that type of footage, not the actual shoot fights that we get backstage? Like, give me this weird shit again. Maybe not this weird, but having that. So you then had, like you said, Hurricane had been teaming with Kane for a little bit on this one. And then there was a video. It was supposed to be Triple H, but rather it was someone wearing a Triple H mask getting an enema. And so, hey, who doesn't like, sorry if you're listening to this on your car ride on the way to work. And so, but this is what we're getting right now. And so first thing in the morning, this is what we're talking about. So, but as it said here, I found this kind of funny. The angle was very unpopular with fans and was de-emphasized before the title match. Like, yeah, no shit. Like, yeah, like, wrestling can be weird. You can have this Undertaker for 30 plus years doing all this supernatural shit, but there is a line. I'm glad they found it, but and sometimes they got to step on it or over it. But yeah, just kind of crazy. So, but like we said, that No Mercy match, finally you had Triple H beating Kane to actually unify those two titles, the Intercontinental and the World Heavyweight Championship at that point. So then there was, between him and Kane, there was October, there was a non-title casket match as well too, on Raw to kind of put a stop to their feud at that point. And so Triple H eventually lost the title to Shawn Michaels. It was first Elimination Chamber, as we know, in late 2002. He then went on to help form Evolution, of course, Ric Flair, Orton, Batista, and himself. They were kind of being pushed at that point too. And then in the lead up to this, Triple H actually had the World Heavyweight Championship for most of 2003. Before this, kind of defending it at WrestleMania 19 against Booker T. And so Kane, on the flip side, though, he actually had a tag team with Rob Van Dam, with the two of them winning the tag championships as well, too, from beating Lance Storm, and who at the time was Chief Morley or Val Venus. It was a triple threat elimination match. It was also the Dudley Boys on Raw. So like you said, after they lost the championship to La Resistance at Bad Blood, Triple H offered Kane a spot in Evolution. And so kind of rekindling the feud on this one. So it was actually Stone Cold, who was Raw co-general manager at the time, offered Kane an opportunity to face Triple H for the championship. And if he rejected Triple H's offer, however, that part of the flip side of this was the other general manager, Eric Bischoff, insisted that if he lost, he would have to unmask. And so Kane accepted Austin's offer and challenged Triple H the following week at Madison Square Garden. So that's how we got this weird, like, kind of, is he going to be in Evolution or not, and kind of what's going to happen there. And so and kind of having that, and so that kind of weird. They had a long feud, or a decent feud before this, and then kind of went their own ways a little bit for probably about 4 or 5 months, and then we're getting back into this with this match with Kane and the mask and the title. So should be good, or at least should be interesting no matter what. So yeah.
I mean, quite the road to get to this match, man. Quite the road. We are season 11, episode 25, the 1 hour and 24 minute mark. 1 hour, 24 minutes. Season 11, episode 25. Jeff, are you ready?
I am ready.
All right. It's time for the payoff.
Oh, it's time for the payoff.
All right, so Triple H, his entrance is finishing up. I actually really like this entrance music in this presentation at the time. Flair's in the ring with him and his gear from earlier. Here comes Kane, looking good.
Through the fire. Looking small.
Fire and brimstone. Yeah, it's not the biggest version of Kane. Interesting. And they're going to go straight at it here. So Kane, very upset, attacking him. I don't love Triple H in blue. feel
In
like it's
blue,
just
yeah, it's
black is the color,
top
especially
points.
as a
Yeah, it
heel.
feels weird.
Yeah, yeah.
So I've been forgetting to ask you too. I saw that there was the draft was recently. We talked about the draft a little bit last week, and just
Just doesn't the draft just doesn't work. I mean, it
fix
just
it. Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. Is how do we fix this?
so it's never worked. It's never made sense. I actually, and here was the interesting thing about this year is this year the draft barely moved anyone, right? I mean, if
Yes,
you
yes,
think
that was
about
a
it,
huge
and that
complaint.
was
Yeah,
yeah, which is fine. So my thought is, okay, if we are not going to move that many people, then why not incrementally throughout the year just do trades? Like they
yeah,
did that one, what was it, KO for Jey Uso, I think. But
yep,
it's totally fine, a couple times a year. And it's like, and if it's smaller people, like let's say it's like, oh, we want to move the LWO, but how do we do that? It doesn't have to be even on TV. I mean, you just put it out on your socials and say, hey, we were just informed by Nick Aldis and Adam Pierce that there's been a trade, and this Monday night you're going to see the LWO on Raw as they've been traded. Okay, right? That actually makes logical sense.
yep,
So I just feel like anytime that if they're sitting in a writers' meeting in June and they say, it'd be nice to get KO over to Raw. Okay, how do we do that from a storyline standpoint? That's what I would do. Is I would just say, look, the rosters are the rosters. We're never doing a draft ever again, but we are going to have trades, right? Or we're going to have a storyline reason why what Sami Zayn did was so egregious that we have to move him to SmackDown.
yep,
There's ways to move guys without it being the hokey draft. It's just hokey. It's just stupid. Why would Bully Ray be sitting in the Raw room? Like it doesn't. None of it makes sense. And so
yeah.
it's not horrible. It's not like the worst thing ever. But it's just like you're watching it and you're like, yeah, there's no point in this.
I feel like, it is interesting. Yeah, the war rooms, I get they're going for the NFL type feel and look, and that does make sense. But also on the flip side, like, yeah, that was a huge complaint of not enough people moving. Why did you do it? It just kind of reminds people of who's where at that point. But then on the flip side, like, I think to myself, like, I like your idea because, we've had over the years, not a lot, but we've had like, I'm sick of this. I'm not getting any chances here. I want to go to SmackDown. Okay. And then we got somebody else that's like, hey, you're trading. And so they could actually work that into the storyline of like who is there, who's not, and kind of doing it that way. So I think that would be really interesting to see.
Or a guy quits. A guy says, hey, I quit Raw. And then a month
Yeah.
later shows up on SmackDown. Oh, okay, that makes sense. And maybe you have contracts. So, Braun Breaker signs with SmackDown and he theoretically would have a contract. Well, he shows up on Raw, his contract was up. I mean, it's not hard to get there. I think back in the day that this draft used to pop a pretty good rating. It did not this year. So like there's no value there either.
I wonder too how much of it was burnout. Like I didn't watch the whole draft. Like Detroit got over the whole city. They're back in the running for a lot of stuff now, which is good for them. 700,000 fans or whatever, which is an insane number. But on the flip side, like I did have it on all weekend. It wasn't necessarily watching it. Just kind of we enjoy the stories they have sometimes and stuff like that, and so that's always fun to see. But plus it's a lot. We're still coming off of Mania at that time. Like, we're still riding that high. Like, I think doing it on I almost like doing it Friday then Monday is weird too. It should be Monday then Friday. I feel like that's just a little bit awkward.
Yep.
And then and it is like the rules got changed that day before. Some of the like titles can't move. Then it comes out like, oh, Netflix really wanted like A-Town, just, then you start hearing all these things. And I think a major shakeup And we've talked about it a lot on this show before of like do seasons. Like it is truly the new season. Like it's always weird on like a random Monday Night Raw where they're like, it's the season premiere. It's like, of what? Like, we're still seeing the same stuff. And so I do find it comical. I'm sure you saw it too, where they were getting shit because there was 20 minutes of wrestling on that Friday draft day. And then, of course, AEW had a 20-minute match the next night. It's like, okay, it's also the draft. Like, I think, like, okay, you could almost do at this point, like a network special with the draft. Like, you don't have to tack it on to SmackDown. I think it was who was it? You got Flair trying to get involved now. Really weird belt swing there. But you had Taker was the one that said that the Hall of Fame has to come off of Friday night.
Yeah,
Like it's he said that. If he's saying that, like he's talking to Triple H and Shawn about that. And so but I think doing these extra special, like I would dedicate an hour, 2 hours to actually watching a draft that they did separate from everything else. Like give me a Saturday morning where you're doing the draft. Awesome. Okay, cool. Or, whatever it might be. Triple H getting hit with the belt there and then still kicking out though, after a second ref kind of run in. And so I think that it's just something's got to change for next time. Like I think that now that they were, it might have been a case of like, hey, we're going to stick with the model that we've had up to this point, and then next time we can change it. And so, because I'm seeing more like, especially was it the music people, how fans aren't happy with the theme songs. I think that they are more online than they let on to. Or at least there are people that are more online. I can't see Triple H like scrolling Twitter and giving two shits about what anyone says about the product. But at the same time, that there's people in those rooms that are. And so I find that interesting.
And I also think they're not changing everything all at once. So I think they may have decided already, hey, this is the last year we're doing the draft, but we're going to do it one more year. Like they're not changing everything immediately. So Kane kicked out of a pedigree, but it looks like he's not going to get another one. This has actually been a very good match. Outside interference, ref bump, the whole deal. But again, when done well and it makes sense, it's good. Flair, regardless of what age he was at this point, like Flair to me never was too old. Like I just thought he was always good in the role he was in with Triple H. He could still work adequately well. I mean, I don't know. I just an observation, but I mean, you Flair with his shirt off, and I'm not saying he looks 25, but I just felt like he was never like a body guy anyway, so it doesn't really matter. I mean, the fans are standing up. They're really going nuts for this. They want to see Kane as champion or Triple H lose. Oh, boy.
For the choke slam, yep.
Wow. Okay, so now we have Orton interferes.
Of course, Evolution getting involved. Yep. Hebner finally coming back too. Yep.
And Evolution was fantastic. All right, so bang. Second pedigree. That's got to be it. 1, 2, 3. Triple H wins. For being a shorter TV match, that was actually excellent. That was a very, very good match. And obviously the match isn't the main draw here. It's what's going to happen next. But I thought this was very well done. So Orton, Triple H, Flair, and again, that evolution just it made so much sense, right? Like I just thought that, like, I mean, it was perfect. You had the guy in his prime, you had the older guy, you had two young guys. It was so good. It was so perfect. It gave Flair relevancy. It cemented Triple H as being, a really, really top heel. And then, it made Orton and Batista, because either of them, they could have fizzled out easily. It's not like they were guaranteed to be stars. So it worked well. Bischoff is coming out. He's demanding Kane unmask. Yep. Is this it?
Building up to it. Yep.
Oh, but now Triple H, Orton, and Flair are all going to attack Kane before he can do it. So now we think we're getting a screw job. Yeah, we think we're not getting it. So that was smart. This was good booking here.
Yep.
But RVD, his tag team partner, is going to come out.
Still wrestling.
He is.
Still. Hey, it was a big holiday for him not that long ago, 420, and then now.
Okay, so Kane and RVD are going to kick some ass. Get rid of these guys.
It's funny to say Kane and RVD taking out Randy Orton, Ric Flair, and Triple H. It's just a weird sentence to say.
It's wild to think that the RVD wouldn't even be champion against Cena for another 3 years.
Right?
This RVD had a nice run. Okay, so now he's teasing that he's going to do the Flames, but now he's not.
RVD looks,
and now RVD looks confused. Uh-oh. Can't do it. Kane wants to do it, but he can't do it. He's conflicted.
Nope.
Very, very conflicted. RVD sitting on the mat, confused. Oh,
good selling.
Here we go. Here's the money shot. Here it comes. Look at this.
Great selling. Taking forever with it.
Oh, yeah. It's the fake Diesel.
It is fake Diesel.
I was terrified when they did this.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but Kane was just so terrifying when he, like, how they did the hair thing and the makeup and
it's just how they
was very good, man.
He's got the contact lenses in.
You're going to read the reviews and give us some stuff. I thought this was incredibly well done. All right, let's get to the aftermath.
Ho! It's time for the aftermath.
All right, so we're off the air on Raw. What did you think of this? I thought it was very, very good.
The match was interesting because the match was actually better than I expected.
Way better.
And it was really good, which is kind of shocking to say. And then so you've got that angle, and then also the unmasking itself was really good. And so, it was just really, it was how they played it up. Now, we're going to talk about they could have done it a little different here. I'll talk about that in a sec here, but we'll start. So what happened in the true aftermath on this one? So you had Triple H losing the title is actually an Unforgiven to the one and only Bill Goldberg. Thanks a lot, asshole. In this match, you had, if Goldberg had lost, he would have to retire. And so after they had a rematch at Survivor Series, then finally beating him in a triple threat in Armageddon, which Kane was also involved in that one. You then had him and Shawn Michaels in their last man standing match at the Royal Rumble. It was a double count out. So he retained the title on that one. And then, of course, WrestleMania 20, losing the championship to Chris Benoit in the triple threat match that also had Shawn Michaels, as we know. So Kane on the flip side, though, all the interference and stuff, and then taking out Rob Van Dam on this one. It kind of a little bit more aggressive on this one as well, too. Set Jim Ross on fire, attacked Linda McMahon. He had the Kane and Shane feud as well, too. So there was a last man standing match between them at Unforgiven. There was an ambulance match at Survivor Series. You also had the Buried Alive match against Vince and The Undertaker, helping McMahon bury The Undertaker and winning the match there. And so just kind of, playing out, he was at the top of the card. There's no denying that. So that's interesting. And so having that. What do we have here? And then you had, of course, him, Undertaker coming back and then feuding and kind of doing that. And so, just kind of interesting how it all played out. So I'm more, more thoughts about the reviews on this one. So 2003, Triple H was 2, Kane was 23. The write-ups on this one, kind of, So here's the Observer newsletter. The big news was the Triple H versus Kane title versus match, which did a 4.55 rating. The Overrun, which was the finish of the match, and the Unmasking of Kane did a 4.97 rating and 6.29 million viewers. This was the most watched segment of Raw in more than 1 year. The sad thing is that it also showed that if you do a big time hot shot stipulation on Raw, people will watch. Now, on the flip side here, some of the writings that I had said they left money on the table by not putting this on a pay-per-view or at least heavily promoting it for weeks, because it did come about literally like the week before, the day of, like it was not a long build. And then I've always hated the way the angle played out. Seriously, Triple H causes him to lose his mask and he never seeks any sort of retribution. What the hell is that? The removal of Kane's mask was a big deal and it should have been handled better than that. And so it popped a huge rating how they handled it, but then I also saw that there was some discourse online about people being like, it could have been even bigger, which is crazy to think about. So no stars on this one, but some write-ups on what happened. What are you thinking?
So you could put this all over the map, right? I mean, you could hate it, you could love it. Looking back at this, knowing the history of Kane, watching that match, watching the end, remembering how I felt when I watched it live, I actually have this at an 8.
Okay.
And here's the thing. There's only so much you can do here. I mean, it's Glenn Jacobs under a fucking mask with fake hair. So it's like the reveal. I mean, it's not like, oh, well, it was revealed to be someone we didn't realize all along, or, I mean, there's just only so much you can do. Like, whereas maybe like in a Wyatt family thing, a guy under a mask could have been Bo Dallas, who we haven't seen forever. I mean, right? Like we knew who the guy was. We knew what he looked like. We'd seen him without a mask in multiple different characters before, black hair and, orange hair, whatever, dentist and fake Diesel. What else were you going to do? So I thought that actually following through with it, the hair makeup combination, the way they did it was pretty interesting. Turning heel on RVD. Again, all things considered, I don't think you could have done it any better. I thought it was very well done. But again, I could see why you'd say it was a 2 and it was horrible too. So what did you think?
Yeah, I put it at a 7 because I think I kind of convinced myself like, yeah, you could have made more of it, but at the same time, the reveal was huge at the time. Like, I'm with you. I remember it being like, well, it didn't have a lot of build. The fact that it happened was like, oh my God, like that. It was such a moment, and like in that, like you said, that shot. I know I've got it in the graphics, for us this week. Of like that shot of him turning and like, the hat or the core, 3/4 of his hair is gone and shaved back. And oh my God, that wasn't his actual hair. And then he, just all of that stuff. And so, yeah, like I'm with you. Like we saw him in 2-3 different iterations of fake Diesel and, Dwight Yankum and all these other people. But then to get this though, like you forget about that almost too. And so like they finally found a way to get him over as these characters. And so, or as this character. So I think, yeah, it's just really interesting how it played out, but not bad. I'll actually even bump it up to 7.5 because the match was really good. And like I was actually surprised.
Yeah.
Raw match for how good it was, like that was impressive.
Yeah, totally agreed. Totally agreed.
Good. So with that, all right, we will send them home happy, of course. I want to remind everybody, as we always do every week, manscaped.com, 20% off, free shipping, everything in the store, whatever you're looking for. We're in the summer months now. And so you want to look your best. You want to feel your best. Like, you don't want you don't want all that hair weighing you down, whatever it might be. And so make sure to use our promo code, because even if you sign up for their email, you're only getting 10% off. We want to make sure you're getting that little bit extra and getting yourself 20% off using our promo code PAYOFF. Everything in the store, though, whatever you need. With that, I think that's it, my friend.
That was good. That was a really good one.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, God, I'm trying to think of what we have next week. Do you remember
What do
offhand?
we have? Yeah, let me pull it up here because I didn't have that screen up. Okay, so what did we just do? Okay, we're a little late, but we're gonna actually
Oh, we have a good one next week.
yeah, some King of the Ring action here with Owen Hart versus Razor. That was the King of the Ring final. So we've got that one. We got Money in the Bank coming up too. So I threw some Money in the Bank on here. We got a big Money in the Bank match. This one was a giant match too. Christian, Cody Rhodes, Damian Sandow, Dolph Ziggler, Santino Marella, Sin Cara, Tensai, and Tyson Kidd in that Money in the Bank. We got another Raw match coming up here, though, but I think this is gonna be sneaky and fantastic. We got Owen Hart versus Shawn Michaels, Monday Night Raw, 1995, and then I'm getting a little crazy because neither of us have ever seen it, but a Lucha Underground match, and so Rey Mysterio versus Prince Puma, and if you're not familiar with who Prince Puma is, that would be the one and only Ricochet. And so Ricochet versus Rey Mysterio and Lucha Underground. I got to find where we can even watch that match. And so but then we got some good stuff. I see Cena on the list here. I see a Rob Van Dam match actually. So we got that. We got Kurt Angle heading into SummerSlam. Got to talk Owen Austin SummerSlam. And so yeah, just all kinds of weird stuff. I've got and then I'm even looking late August. I don't even know if you have this in front of you. I got the Brock Lesnar versus Hulk Hogan SmackDown match as well too for us in August. Yeah, and so that one that should go over interesting. So
Another one that would be fun to add. I don't think I texted you about this, but Jericho Hogan for the title on SmackDown when Hogan was champion. I think Jericho, I saw an interview, he was like, that was a pretty damn good match. Like, I was really proud of that. I think Hogan was too. Might be one we want to add.
I will get it added to the list. I do see what we got here. I have a Jericho versus Eddie Guerrero match though on the long range here, and so we got everybody covered here. It's gonna be good stuff.
Good. Well, this was fun. Appreciate everyone listening, and we'll see you next week on an all new episode of The Pay.